You made it through something you weren't sure you would. Not with fanfare. Not with a triumphant moment where you looked back and felt proud and whole and certain it had all been worth it. You just kept going, one day at a time, through the particular kind of silence that follows a breaking. The silence where you are still functioning, still showing up, still giving the impression of being fine, but something in the center of you has gone very quiet and very careful. You learned to carry the weight, so well that after a while you barely noticed you were carrying it. The wound became part of the posture. The not enough became part of how you moved through rooms. The fear that what happened to you happened because of something fundamentally true about who you are. That fear became the lens through which you evaluated every new thing, filtered every new person, measured every new beginning. You survived that, quietly, without applause, without anyone fully understanding what it cost. That specific, unannounced, practiced kind of survival that looks from the outside like simply continuing, but is from the inside, the most demanding thing a person can do. Today, that survival is being recognized by something much larger than anything I can offer you in a 10-minute video. Today, the specific wound that your specific survival has been organized around is being brought into a light so complete and so direct that for the first time, not as a concept, not as a thing you understand intellectually, but as a lived, felt, in-the-body experience, you have the chance to see it clearly. And in the seeing, to stop being defined by it. Chiron Cazimi in Aries is active today. And before those words become abstract, let me tell you what they mean in the terms of your actual, lived experience of being you. Chiron is the wounded healer. It is the part of your astrological and psychological chart that carries your deepest wound, the one formed in your earliest experience of not being enough, of not belonging, of being told or shown or made to feel, at a level that lodged itself below conscious reasoning, that you were too much or not enough, or somehow fundamentally misaligned with what the world needed you to be. Every person carries this wound in some form. Yours, in the specific way it has expressed itself through your life and your relationships, and the recurring moments of pain that have felt inexplicably outsized because they were touching the original injury rather than just the present circumstance. Cazimi means the planet is at the exact heart of the sun, not near it, within it. The sun's light, which is the light of consciousness and clarity and full seeing, is being directed today with pinpoint precision at Chiron, at the wound, at the specific, deep, long-carried place in you where the feeling of not enough lives. The sun is not illuminating it to intensify the pain. The sun is illuminating it the way light on a wound finally lets you see what needs care rather than continuing to carry it wrapped in the dark where it could neither heal nor be released. Chiron Cazimi is rare. This specific alignment, the exact conjunction of the wounded healer with the light of full conscious awareness, happens once a year, but in Aries, the sign of identity and courage, and the fundamental question of whether you are allowed to be fully, unapologetically who you are, it speaks to the deepest possible version of the wound. The one about worthiness, about whether you are enough as you are, to go after what you want, to take up the space you actually occupy, to believe that the things you desire are genuinely available to you and not quietly reserved for people who don't carry what you carry. Today, that wound is being seen. Not by someone else, by you. By the part of you that has always known the wound was there, but has rarely had the conditions to look at it directly in full light. Nothing that happened to you was random. The rejection that arrived at the moment when you most needed confirmation. The relationship that broke you open in the specific place where you were already tender. The version of yourself you had to leave behind. The one who believed certain things were possible before the experience that taught you to believe differently. The period when you felt most alone, most unseen, most like the world was operating on a logic that simply did not include you. None of it was punishment. None of it was evidence of the thing you feared it was evidence of, that you were fundamentally unsuited for the things you wanted, that the wound was proof of a deficiency rather than a site of preparation. Every single piece of what you went through was Chiron at work, shaping you in the specific way that the life you are meant to live required you to be shaped, building in you the exact qualities that could not have been built any other way, not through ease, not through simple confirmation, not through a life in which the things you wanted arrived without the friction that taught you what you are actually made of. The rejection built your discernment. The breaking open built your depth. The period of aloneness built your relationship with yourself, the one that will be the foundation of every genuine connection that follows, because you now know the difference between being with someone who sees you and being with someone who occupies the space where seeing could be. The version of yourself you had to leave behind was the version that could not have held what is coming. The wound, which has felt like the thing that limited you, was the thing that was preparing you. You were never broken. That feeling of having been broken, of having been cracked or diminished or fundamentally altered by what you went through, was the feeling of being built, of material under pressure becoming something stronger than it was. The hardest thing about Chiron's work is that it does not feel like preparation while it is happening. It feels like damage. It feels like loss. It feels like evidence of the wound's truth rather than the wound's healing. You live it as damage because you cannot see from inside the building that what is being constructed is something you will eventually recognize as the most important architecture of your life. Today you get to see it. Today the sun's light is falling on the whole of it, not just the wound, but the structure. Not just the injury, but what the injury made. And what it made is the specific, rare, hard-to-manufacture quality of a person who has been genuinely tested and did not break, who has been genuinely hurt and did not close, who has been made to feel not enough and still, somehow, refused to entirely stop believing in their own worth. Today is a completion. Not a beginning, a completion. The door that has been slowly closing on the version of yourself organized around the wound is, today, closing fully. The chapter in which the injury defined your expectations, shaped your limits, whispered its commentary on every new person and every new opportunity. That chapter is completing itself. The wound is not going to disappear. Chiron does not promise the absence of the wound. Chiron promises the healing of it, and the healing does not look like forgetting or erasing. It looks like the wound finally losing its governance, its authority over how you move and what you believe you are allowed to want. After today, the wound will still be part of your history. It will still be a place in you that has been tender, but it will no longer be the lens. It will no longer be the primary filter through which you evaluate your own worthiness for the things you want. It will be a place you have been and healed from and carry with compassion, and from which you have built something remarkable that would not exist without it. What arrives now, the opportunities, the connections, the inner clarity about your direction and your purpose and what you are actually here to do, arrives for that person, for the one who was built by everything they survived. The world does not receive you the same way after Chiron Cazimi as it received you before, because you do not receive yourself the same way. The shift in how you see your own worth, even a small shift, even just the beginning of genuinely believing that what you went through was preparation rather than evidence of your limitations, changes the frequency you broadcast, changes what responds, changes what the next chapter of your life is able to hold. This is why today is not like other healing days. It is the day when the healing reaches the specific, foundational layer where the original wound was formed, where the belief, I am not enough, I am not allowed to have what I want, I take up too much space or too little, the things I want are for other people, where that belief is touched by the sun's full light and seen for what it actually is, a response to something that happened, not a truth about who you are. Chiron Cazimi is rare, and its window is specific. The quality of today's alignment, the exact, precise, sun at the heart of Chiron depth of it, will pass. Not the healing. The healing continues beyond today. But the specific intensity of what is available in this window, the particular quality of full light seeing that today makes possible, belongs to this day. The people who are conscious and present during this alignment receive something that lands at the identity level, at the level of how they fundamentally understand themselves and what they believe they deserve. That shift, once received, changes everything that follows. Not dramatically, not overnight, but in the compounding, accumulating way of genuine shifts in self-perception. Every choice made from a slightly different belief about your own worth produces a slightly different outcome, and the difference compounds across days and weeks and months into a life that is genuinely and measurably different from the one that the old wound-defined belief would have produced. The people who are distracted or contracted during this window, who move through today without the quality of conscious presence that allows the sun's light to reach the wound, don't lose anything permanently. The healing will continue. The wound's governance will loosen over time regardless. But they miss the specific, full light seeing that today offers. The moment of actual clarity, not approaching clarity, not partial clarity, but the complete, the sun is directly on it clarity. That is this window. And that quality of clarity, received today, is what accelerates everything that follows. Be present today, fully present. Not to every external demand, present to yourself, to the quiet, specific, important work of letting the light fall on the wound and allowing the seeing to be what it is, complete, honest, and finally free of the story that the wound was evidence of your limits rather than the site of your becoming. You were never broken. That is the thing that today is here to help you know, not as an encouragement, not as a kind word offered in the direction of a difficult truth, but as a fact. The actual, evidenced, look at what you built fact of a person who went through real damage and kept going, who was genuinely hurt and stayed open enough to be here, who carried the weight long enough to arrive at the day when the weight can finally, fully be set down. The things you went through shaped you for something. The rejection that felt like a door closing was a door closing on something that was not meant for the person you were becoming. The breaking open was an opening, not a destruction. The period of aloneness built in you a self-knowledge and a self-reliance that the people who never had to be alone with themselves do not have. Everything that happened for the specific, non-random, precisely orchestrated purpose of building the version of you that is ready for what is next. Ready for it in a way that the pre-wound version of you was not. Ready for it because of everything you survived, not despite it.